Excel is just a spreadsheet application that allows users to organize their data that they collect, to be able to take that data and complete calculations, make various decisions, because we've taken the raw data and made it into some useful information by doing such things as creating calculations. We can also use it to develop some professional looking reports. And really, when it comes to Excel, there's four major parts you should understand. That's that as a whole, it's a workbook, and that workbook, just like a workbook or a book contains pages, a workbook contains worksheets. It also, another major part is charts. The third major part are tables, and the fourth major part is web support. When you want to open up Microsoft Excel on your Windows machine, it's just like you did with Microsoft Word. You're just going to go to your Start button on your menu there, and then type Excel or scroll through to display Excel 2019. Click the Excel 2019 app, and Excel will open up just like you see here on mine, and we're looking at the Excel start screen here. And to work with a blank workbook, you'd simply click on blank workbook. If you wanted to use one of the many templates, if you were not starting with scratch, you could search through the ones that come installed, or you can search for the online templates to find something to work with that's already been created that you can then modify to your own rather than starting from scratch. We can also over here see ones that you've pinned that you use regularly, so you can access that, or ones that you've recently opened up. So that's how to get started from the Excel start screen. So I'll just click on a blank workbook here, just so we can look at how to get starting with using Microsoft Excel 2019. Now there's several different elements here on this, what's known as an active worksheet. Down here is our sheet tab, and I said earlier you're going to look at how to change the name of that and change the color. And there's different ways to do this. One of the simplest ways is to right click, and if you right click on the tab, you'll see here's the rename and here's the tab color. So I could change the color of this tab, let's say to this gold accent 4. And now if I add another worksheet, you'll be able to easily see and identify worksheet number 1. Now if I wanted to change the name of this, I could double click on it. As I said, I could right click on it. I could come up here to the cells group here on the ribbon, drop this down, and I can rename the worksheet exactly same way. And let's just call this sheet. Well, we'll just call it, I don't know, January. I can hit enter, or I can just click outside of it, and now that's changed. So now I can easily reference it by name or by color. So with this active worksheet, there's also a lot else that's going on. Starting at the top here, we have the quick access toolbar, and this, you can modify this. Let's say I wanted to customize this a little bit, and I want to add the print preview and print button. I simply just have to check it and it will be activated. Now there is my print preview and print button. If I wanted to add another, I could, or if I wanted to take one off, like the redo button, I could check it, click on it, whatever the case may be, and it will be gone. So that is the quick access toolbar. This is so you have quick access to certain commands that you want to be able to know they're there without having to search for them. Some of the other elements, as I mentioned, this is the ribbon, which is common amongst the Microsoft Office suite. Here is the name box. The name box we'll use more later on, but the name box is so I can do another quick reference for a name. Let's say I selected these cells and I was going to have certain data in there. I could just come up here and change the name of this to, we'll just say, we'll call this sales. Now, whenever if I would select that group, or if I wanted to work in the sales group, it would be available to me, and you can see Excel says, okay, you're talking about this group, what would you like to do? And when we talk about cells, cells are referenced. The name that we give cells is by the column they're in and the row they're in. So where they intersect by a column and row, that is the name for that cell. These lines here you see, those are grid lines, And we have the ability to disable or turn those off here on the View tab. You see we can turn off the grid lines so that they're not seen. When you're working, though, most of the time you're going to leave these on. If you're going to print, you may take those off. But different functionality here on the ribbon based on the tab on the ribbon and then what group they're in. So you will probably hear me reference using Excel. I will say, okay, go to the Home tab, go to the Font group, and change the font size. So here I'm using the font size object, and I could change the font size in this particular cell to a much larger or smaller size. So that's it about the ribbon and the tabs and the groups and objects. Another part you'll go over here in chapter 1 is the Tell Me box. The Tell Me box is so that you can type something in and Excel will do a search for it for you in case you can't remember. Let's say I wanted to talk about footnotes or references. I could start typing that in. Or if I wanted to talk about how to do a header in Excel, say I just type in header. You'll see there's header and footer. It will take me to the tab and group, and now I have my header and footer tools design. And now that I have these tools available to me, I can start working with headers and footers. So I'm going to escape out of that. We're done with our headers and footers. Now we can go back and look at some of the other objects. And to get it back to that normal look, I'm going to change the view that I'm using here in Excel. Right now we are in the page layout view. To go back to what we originally saw, we're going to go to the normal view. Click normal, and now we see exactly what we were looking at. Now the reason you'll see these dotted lines is because now we were in a reading view, and if we were printing the page, this is where the page would cut off. Alright, some of the other things that we want to talk about here, we've already discussed the worksheet window here. We've got our scroll bars. Besides our scroll bars, we have our zoom tool down here to be able to adjust the size of our displayed document. I already talked about the view buttons here. We also have our status bar. Our spreadsheet is ready. We talked about sheet tabs. This button here is called the New Sheet button. So anytime you want a new worksheet, you just simply click this. You can also get rid of worksheets. And let's say I don't want this worksheet. And the reason we get rid of worksheets that we don't need is because that takes up storage space. So if we have a bunch of these that we're not using, it's just taking up storage space on our storage device on our computer. So I'm just going to use the quick method here. I'm just going to right click on that and delete the worksheet. Once again, as most things with Microsoft, we have multiple ways of doing that. I could have come up to the Home tab here on the ribbon, gone to the Cells group, selected Format, and then I could have deleted the worksheet. But I did not need to do that. I just wanted to do it my preferred method. So that's a pretty good introduction to the ribbon here, the worksheet, the worksheet window here, the views, buttons, navigating. Like I said, there's a lot of content in these chapters. Just make sure you're familiarized with the basics as you're going through chapter 1. I mentioned too that you would be entering text or numbers, and let's just say I'm going to enter some text here, and we'll just say I have different branches of my organization. We'll say I have East, West, and a South branch. All I'm doing is clicking in the cell and typing it. And I could also, if I had a North branch, I could come up here into the formula bar and I could type it there as well. Now if I want to put some sales data in here, I could just put some random numbers. And if I wanted, and I told you to be using the sum button, let's say I want my total sales here, I could use the auto sum button, which is part of the Home tab in the editing group, and I could just click the auto sum button and I can simply select the cells I want to total. even though there's nothing here, it's still part of the range. So if I went to put like a name or something there, then it would include that and it could mess up my formula. So here are the only cells I need to add. So they're now selected. Sum, my range of cells from A2 to A5, and it's a range because we have that colon in there. And once I hit enter, it will add up the contents, the values of these 4 cells, and give me the total of that. And that's using the sum function. And we could do the same thing if I wanted to create a function that does the same thing. I could put equals, and I could put sum, and it recognizes, hey, these are the functions. What do you want to do? And I could put like here, and I could hit a comma, as you see here, add number 1, comma, number 2, comma, number 3, and so on and so forth. So if I click this one, then I put a comma, and I click the next one, comma, next one, you can see that's the cell reference. And because the cell reference here looks like it does, if it had a $ before either the A or the 4 or both, that would make it an absolute cell reference. We'll get into those later. But say, okay, those are the 4 cells I want to add. Now I'm going to put my right parenthesis. As you see here in this formula, it's showing me, okay, when you're done, put a right parenthesis. So I'll put my right parenthesis, hit enter, and we get the exact same value. So that's just creating a function. What we use with the AutoSum function is a built-in function. Another thing I mentioned was using the fill handle. And let's say I want to copy this information here. If I wanted to copy that from here to here, so the exact same values are right beside each other, I grab where this little box is at the very bottom right corner. That's my fill handle. And I can move my mouse where that turns into this plus sign, and then I can click and drag, and there I've copied the cells using the fill handle. If I had a series, and let's just say we'll use some months. I'll go ahead and put March in here. Rather than typing those, I can use the fill handle, and because it's a recognizable series, Excel will say, okay, you want April, May. So as I grab the fill handle, start pulling it over, April shows up, May shows up, June, July. We'll go all the way through December here. Let go, and it auto fills it in for me. So another great tool that's built in for us to save us time. And you're going to do a lot of formatting. Let's say I wanted to do some simple formatting here with our branches. I want to make those bold, so I'm going to come up here to the font group on my home tab. I'll make those bold, and let's say I want to fill in those so that I know that I'm working with my different branches, and I'm going to select, we'll just pick a light gold accent here. There, I've done some simple formatting. Let's say my numbers, I want those to be in a monetary value. So I'm going to come over here to the number group on my home tab and select currency. And now it's formatted with the $, the comma for the thousands place, and then a decimal with 2 decimal places for those. So there's a lot that we can do in Excel. It's a very powerful tool. Over the next few chapters, just want you to understand what Excel can do for you on a very introductory level, and just get a taste of the power that this tool can do for you. If we wanted to look at our document properties, we're going to go what's called the Backstage view. I'm going to click on the File button here. This is called the Backstage view, and here's my Properties area. If I wanted to be able to put some metadata in here, which is called a tag, like you might have seen on like a tag for a video on YouTube, if you've ever created a video like that, then you can put data in there so it's easily searchable, and that's what a tag does. If I put this one as, let's just say, Acme Sales, the name of my company is Acme Sales, I could put in like sales, comma, I could put in the name of the company, Acme. Now whenever, if I go into Windows Explorer, I could type in sales, and it would search for all the files in my whatever storage device and look for tags or parts of the names of sales, and this one would definitely get returned. If I wanted to add an author to this, such as my own name, can add it. So there's a lot of information. We can put more information here if we put the show all properties. If we wanted to put another a category, or if the status of this file was in development, we could put information like that in there. So that's how you get to the document properties, is to go to the Backstage view. There's a lot more in Chapter 1. I hope you will enjoy the content as you are reading it, and maybe have Excel opened up and working through some of that on your own. With Chapter 2, you're going to be working with such things as flash fill. You're going to be doing formulas using your keyboard, kind of like what I did a little bit ago. You're going to be using point mode. You're going to apply the max, min, and average functions. As an example, if I wanted to do the maximum value here, I could simply go up here to the editing group here on the home tab and select max. And I would tell it, oh, I want the maximum value from these cells. Hit enter, and we know that this is the value we should see. And if we wanted to see the min, same thing, we could go up here, hit min, and select the same group, and we know that $67 should be our result. So if you got a lot of numbers you're working with, this will make everything so much quicker. There's other ways we could do this. If we wanted to do the same thing, we'll just use the average this time. Well, I can hit the function, the insert function button here next to the formula bar, and now I can type in what function I want to use. Here's most recently used, but if I haven't ever used it, I'm going to go to the all, and then I'm going to type in average. Hit enter. There's average. I'll hit OK, and I get a description of what that function is. I'll hit OK. All right, well, what numbers do you want to average? Well, I want to average these numbers. It sees the range. It gives me a value. It says here's the average of your numbers. I hit OK. And we can check this just to see if we did it right. We'll hit the average button over here in the editing group. Select those cells. We get the exact value, just what we expected. So there's, like I said, there's a lot of different ways you can do the exact same thing when you're working Excel. You're also going to look at how to apply different themes to your workbooks. And to do that, we'll go up here to our page layout tab. So how we want our page to be laid out. And you see we have different themes here. We have some that are built in, and you can see how I hover over them, how fonts change and colors change. That's a pre-designed format for our workbook. That's why it's a theme. If we have themes of our own that we've used in the past, let's say an organizational theme, then if we've got it saved, we can browse for that. Or if we create something and we know we're going to use it, we want to use it again, we'll save that theme and we can refer to it other times. Some of the other things you'll do is like applying a date format to a cell or range. Besides doing that, you're going to work with some conditional formatting. It says, hey, if the cell meets this condition, let's see, we want any cells above 300 to be green, so we're making profit. Anything that we're not making that, we want to be red to kind of give us a visual emphasis on how we are or are not meeting our goals. Then we can use conditional formatting for that. So as an example, we'll come up here, we'll go to our home tab, and we're going to create a conditional formatting rule. We're going to highlight cells that are greater than 300. So we'll type in that value. And if it's greater than 300, green fill with dark green text. And we should have selected this. We'll select this. So greater than 300, we want it to be green. And then we're going to take the same block of cells and do the other condition, less than 300. We want it to be red with the dark red text, so we hit OK. And we can see, just a quick glance, we can say, oh, okay, these three areas we're making money. Here we're not reaching that 300 goal. So that's what just a quick example of how to use our conditional formatting. You also work with column width and column height. As an example, here in September, I can't see all of the word September. or even November. So what I can do is I can just go between the two columns, double click, or I can right click on it and I could do the column width and I can set a value. Let's say I want to make that a value of 10, hit OK. Now I can see that. There's a way you can do this as well. I can select all of these columns and then double click between the cells, and that will auto fix my problem not being able to see my lettering. Now it has went and looked at all the cells and adjusted it so all the text in those cells can be viewed. And you can see July is a much shorter word than September, so that's why the column width has been changed to a much more narrow setting. You'll be working with the print preview again. If I click on this, you can see, okay, here's what my data looks like. If I want to change to like a landscape mode, I can change the landscape mode. If I want to change my margins, I can do that. If I'm going to be printing to, let's say, a legal size, I would come here and I can select legal or executive. Lots of things we can do here as well, and I hope you will enjoy looking at that information as well as the information in the following weeks, and that you really walk away with a greater understanding of spreadsheet software, but specifically Microsoft Excel 2019. Have a great week and don't hesitate to reach out with any questions.